Have you ever wondered what makes up you and the rest of living things like animals, plants, and bacteria? Well, that would be cells. Cells are the smallest unit of life, not visible to the human eye. These cells communicate and work with each other to make you do everything that you do. Some living beings are made up of one single cell, while others, like humans, have 30 trillion cells in total. Within cells are organelles that have many different functions. The first organelle seen here is the cell wall. This is found in the cells of plants, fungi, and bacteria, but not animal cells, so not in humans. It covers the outside of the cell and protects the inside of the cell, kind of like the skin on a human. This means the cell wall is rigid. Cell walls are important in plant cells because they help to prevent structural damage when wilting occurs. Animal cells don't have cell walls because they don't need that kind of support. Plant cells use cell walls to maintain rigidity and stand up straight. But since animal cells have bones and other support methods, their cells do not have walls. The cell membrane is like a cell wall in that it covers the entire surroundings of the cell, but it is less rigid and allows certain very small things, like nutrients or ions, into the cell. The cell membrane also facilitates the disposal of toxic waste substances inside the cell by secreting them through channels and pores. The membrane surrounds the cytoplasm of the cell. The cytoplasm is the fluid inside the cell membrane where all the organelles reside. The cytoplasm helps move materials made in one organelle to another to be stored for later use. There are actually tiny rods and filaments within the cytoplasm that act as structural support for the cell and help keep the jelly-like fluid at least somewhat rigid. These same filaments, called cytoskeletons, also anchor other organelles in place so that they don't float around freely and bump into one another.
The nucleus is the organelle that contains the genetic material of the living being. Basically, it keeps track of all the DNA that makes you, you. The nucleus is like the brain of the cell because it tells the rest of the cell what to do. For example, it tells the cell how much to grow or how much energy to consume or produce. Okay, let's get a bit more specific here. The nucleus actually houses a smaller ball inside it, called the nucleolus. The nucleolus is just a condensed mass of genetic material. On the outside of the nucleus is a layer called the nuclear envelope. As you can see, there are little pores on this membrane. These pores are channels in the membrane that allow things in the cytoplasm of the cell to enter the nucleus, and vice versa.
The mitochondrion is the famous powerhouse of the cell. But what does this actually mean? Well, the mitochondria are special because they make ATP through a process called cellular respiration. ATP is an important biological molecule because it has the ability to transfer energy to other parts of the cell or other cells entirely. Cellular respiration is the conversion of oxygen and sugar into energy in the form of ATP and carbon dioxide. Because mitochondria use the oxygen you are constantly breathing in, they are working all the time. That's where the nickname powerhouse of the cell comes from. The lysosome is like the trash can of a cell. It is where old cell parts go to get broken down by digestive enzymes. Lysosomes are in charge of destroying viruses that attack cells. The ribosome forms proteins that the cell uses for many other functions. The ribosome first takes genetic code and turns it into chains of amino acids. Then, it folds the amino acid chains into proteins. Ribosomes are so efficient at making the proteins that viruses tend to attack it by programming it to produce viral code as a protein in order to harm the cell. Ribosomes can be found in the cytoplasm of the cell or studded on the surface of the rough endoplasmic reticulum.
The endoplasmic reticulum can either be smooth or rough. The rough version, covered with ribosomes, is the organelle in a cell that produces the proteins that the cell functions from. Remember, ribosomes are responsible for protein synthesis, so it makes sense that the endoplasmic reticulum, coated in ribosomes, also plays a role in protein synthesis. The smooth ER produces fats, hormones, and parts of the cell membrane. Secretory cells, like those in skin glands, have an excess of smooth ER in their cells.
The Golgi Apparatus is the organelle responsible for packaging proteins and lipids into vessels and transporting them off to where they need to go. You can think of it as the UPS of a cell. It takes the proteins synthesized by the ribosomes and rough ER and packages them up nice and neat before shipping them off to where they need to go. Portions of the Golgi Apparatus actually break off and travel to the cell membrane, where they mold with the membrane to release their contents outside of the cell. This part of the Golgi then detaches from the cell membrane and travels back to the Golgi body organelle. Chloroplasts are organelles found only in photosynthesizing creatures, such as plants. Photosynthesis is the process of turning sunlight into food and the plant can consume. Chloroplasts are responsible for converting the sunlight into energy with the help of water and carbon dioxide. Chloroplasts basically perform the opposite reaction a mitochondrion facilitates. In mitochondria, sugar and oxygen are converted into water, carbon dioxide, and energy, but in chloroplasts, water, carbon dioxide, and energy from light are converted to sugar, or plant food, and oxygen. This is what makes plants autotrophs. An autotroph produces its own food, producing a non-living energy source, such as the sun. Other animals cannot produce their own food, so they get energy by eating autotrophs.
The amyloplast is another organelle found only in plant cells. This organelle produces and stores starch that the plant requires. Amyloplasts participate in the plant's ability to react to the gravity that is pulling differently on its stems or leaves. It basically helps the plant keep its balance and stand up straight and tall. Vacuoles are in both animal and plant cells. However, they are very small in animal cells and very large in plant cells. In animal cells, they serve to get rid of waste products, but in plant cells, they help the plant maintain water balance. This is part of the reason why plants are able to stand up on their own. The flagella are long, whip-like tails that come out of the cell. They are used to move the cell and feel its surroundings. They swing around in a corkscrew motion to propel the cell forward. They are primarily found in bacteria cells, but are also located on a few specialized animal cells. And now you know what cells are made of, and how they work to keep you moving. Let's take a look at our model cells. We've got an animal cell and a plant cell. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Rose Holman Swee for more awesome videos like this one.